Hi, this is Tim with rcnoob.com. This is part 3 of our Tamiya Grasshopper kit build. As you can see, we've got something that very much is starting to look like a buggy. We did quite a bit of off-camera work since we last left off with part 2. The differences between then and now. We've got all the electronics mounted, which we had before. We also went ahead and built our front suspension pieces and mounted them. And we also have a front bumper on here. I'll just give this a quick flip over so you can see the underside. All of the installation and the assembly of this went smooth. Much smoother than possibly the gearbox, which I think to this point has been the area that's given me the most issue, at least in assembling it and putting it together. So we've got the front suspension completed, assembled, ready to go. Everything's connected to the steering servo. Front bumper is mounted, so where does that leave us in our build? Well, we are at step 15, and as I look through the manual, we don't have a lot of steps left. And I'll be honest, that makes me a little bit sad. I have really enjoyed this project. I've really enjoyed building this. And for as much as I may have complained or griped about the instruction manual, it's been fun to go through and look at this and see how everything goes together, and to to build it and see something come together. For me, may be the biggest thrill that I'm getting out of this whole experience. And I'm getting, to really understand what goes into one of these vehicles, and what goes into something that is vintage and classic and not something that you'd find in today's RC world. Where we left off, I said, we've got the front end completed. Now it's time to build some wheels, put on some tires, and, really have this buggy start to take shape. Now, earlier on in the video series, I said I was going to go flat white with my body and some of the other trim pieces. I changed that a little bit. I ended up going with more, it was a technically gloss white on the can. It did come out a little flat after I painted it, but I like the look, and I think it's going to turn out well. But again, we're going to keep that classic look. We're going to put all the classic decals on it. We're going to have it look, I'd say, fairly close to what the box art looks like when all is said and done. I do have a few more little small bottles of paint to pick up for some accent work, but we'll do that in the next few days, and that'll all time out perfectly with how this build is going together. So first off, we're going to build our two front tires and wheels. Now the wheels have a three-part design, and there's a middle, an outer, and an outer component to each wheel, and that's the same for the fronts and the rears. You'll have to insert the middle piece into the tire first before you can attach the other parts. It's basically a beadlock design. There's no tire foam in here. It's the rubber is very, it's stiff, and there's not a lot of give, so you're gonna have to work at it a little bit, unless you're a pro at putting in tires, and I just proved to myself that I'm not quite there yet. But we've got the middle insert in there, so we're going to go ahead and keep building this wheel, and we're going to get these other two pieces bolted on, and we'll get the other front tire and wheel taken care of, and then we'll move on to the rears and see where we end up then. Okay, so in a few minutes time, we went from this to this, a completed and assembled front wheel and tire. Really, the assembly went smooth. Just make sure you have everything lined up as you sandwich the different parts and pieces in. You're going to have to work, you may have to work a little bit at getting that center insert in place. After that, it's just a matter of lining things up, putting the screws and bolts or nuts in place, and just tightening everything up nice and snug. So we're going to keep building. Like I said, we've got one more front tire and two rears to build. Okay, we've built our 4 tires, fronts and rears. We've assembled them all. We've torqued the screws. Everything is good to go. Now it's time to attach them onto the chassis, and we're going to do so. First, we're going to do the front tires. We are going to be putting 2 plastic bushings on each side of the wheel. I've already got those inserted on this one. You can see on this tire, or this wheel, pardon me. It does not have the bushings. See slight difference. And we are also going to be putting a little bit of grease, again, the good old Tamiya grease. I'm going to put a little bit of that onto the spindle. At this point, I am really running low on my grease, so I can tell we're getting close to the end of the build. And we're going to put our wheel nut on there. I did make some adjustment to the toe-in on the front steering, and you can do that easily by turning on the steering arms. All right, we've got one front tire and wheel on. This might be the easiest part of the whole build, getting these wheels on. Again, we're going to go for the grease. Put on a little bit underneath. And on goes the wheel. Give it a little spin. I did read ahead in the instruction manual. Whoa. Outside of the wheel and tire installation, the next thing we're going to be doing is putting on the battery tray. And after that, it is time to paint the body, which I've already done. And then it's time to put decals on the body, which I have not done yet. At this point, I'm going to wrap up part 3 with, as soon as we get everything here onto the buggy, that's going to be part 3. Part 4 is going to be taking a look at the body, putting the decals on, and finally attaching that. And then we'll be ready to go, and that will be it. This build will be complete, and yeah, we will have survived our first official RC kit build. But again, before we get there, we need to do a little bit more work. We need to put these tires on. And now the rear tires do go on a specific way. They are sand paddle tires, and if you look at them, they do have a tread pattern that faces one direction versus the other. You want to have them so they are going to be, I guess, scooping as the vehicle goes forward. So I've got these slightly swapped around. We're going to do that. And there is an additional piece we need to grab off of our one of our black parts trees. The parts trees are looking very barren at this point, and not much left to them, that's for sure. Okay, onto the rear wheels. Outside of this black piece and the wheel itself, there is a small little stud that we're going to put through the rear axle. But again, not until we apply our Tamiya grease. All right, so we've got that locked on. Next goes the wheel itself. Make sure we've got that positioning correct. These wheel nuts, when I've been putting them on, you know when they're on. I've had some models where you twist and you twist and you twist and you seem like you twist forever and turn forever and they don't seem to catch. These seem to catch, there you go, right away, which is nice. Nice little change of pace from the other RTR models that I have been working with. Much better than the other. That and our wheel. There you have it, folks. This is part 3 of my build. Next up, to give you a little sneak preview, we're going to be doing the body. It's already been painted. It's a white, keeping it stock looking, keeping it classic. It's a white body. We're going to be applying some decals, and basically, last step is affixing it to the chassis, screwing everything down, and firing it up for the very first time as an official completed kit. So, until next time, this has been Tim with rcnoob.com. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. We will have much more on this vehicle, the Tamiya Grasshopper, after we get it all fired up and finished off. And we've also done a number of other ready-to-run vehicle reviews and drives and action videos. You name it, we try to cover as much as we can. So do check that out at youtube.com/rcnoob. Until next time, this has been Tim. We'll talk with you later.